Hey everybody, this is Tony Dominic, and
And Sherry Spencer. Tony, what's
yeah,
what's wrong? You are not yourself today. You
you
seem
know, I'm just, maybe it's the COVID-19. I don't know what it is, but I expected tons of lawsuits when I even talked to Kathy about it. These people, everybody is so litigious these days. Everybody's suing everybody, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of, you know, can't we just play nice and share our toys and stop trying to make money out of stuff? I just don't get that. It reminds me there's a guy in Austin, Texas. Listen to this. This happened in 2017. He sued his date, okay? Because when he took her to the movie, she paid more attention to her cell phone than she did to him. And so he sued and he won the price of the tickets for $17. I mean, really? Are you that hard up? $17 suing for the price of a ticket? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
so what are you pining for the good old days, for the simpler times?
Yeah, because
What?
it was just easier to live back then. You didn't sue people. It was a much simpler time. I loved it back then.
I can tell you didn't really live back then because it may have been simpler, but people weren't all that different then than they are now. In fact, let me tell you about a lawsuit in 1905. A man by the name of Peter Osterman sued an Avon Lake man by the name of Eugene Mitchell for something called alienation of affections.
Alienation of you can sue for that. Alienation of affections.
Alienation of affections.
I'm
And
in. I'm in.
he asked for $10,000 because he said that was what his wife's love was worth. Made the newspapers.
$10,000.
$10,000.
He
Yep.
let her go cheap.
Yep. But what was interesting is that after he did that, he also sued Eugene Mitchell for alienation of affections, and then turned around and sued his wife for divorce. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Because she hit him with a block of firewood, threatened to kill him, and was selling his wines and his property.
I actually went around the house and hid all of our firewood for that very same reason.
I heard you also went around the house and hid all your wine for that very same reason. Is that
Yeah,
true?
yeah. I'm not a wine guy, so that was easy. There was a half a bottle and it was left over from 2019 New Year's Eve or something like that.
Well, that alienation of affections lawsuit must have been fairly popular back then because there was another Avon Laker who did the same sort of thing, but he sued his mother-in-law.
I
Ben
got along.
Walker.
I got along with my mother-in-law, and rest her soul. She was a sweetheart. I loved her. I miss her. She's a good woman. I just want that to go on the record.
You are on the record.
All right.
But Ben Walker sued Emma Beard, his mother-in-law, saying that she was responsible for alienating the affections of his wife. And he sued her, the mother-in-law, for $25,000.
That's a lot of money, especially back then.
Yeah.
And to sue your mother-in-law, I bet the family parties were never the same again.
Never.
Never. You can't necessarily invite everybody over for Christmas dinner if half of the family isn't talking to you.
Nope.
Yep.
But I have to tell you, Ben's lawsuit went down the tubes.
Why?
When his wife Flossie sued him for divorce, claiming that although they lived along the lake shore, Ben would only go down to the lake and take a cleansing dip, maybe once a year, and occasionally on other sundry occasions.
Sundry, new word. Boop, boop. Sherry's word of the week, sundry.
So there went Ben's lawsuit. Lawsuit out of divorce.
Well, here's another one that I picked up. 1993, this guy named Richard Overton sued Budweiser, the Anheuser-Busch Company, because, pardon me, because he was watching these commercials on television where everybody was on the beach and there was these suntan babes jumping around and frolicking.
Check him out. What a hunk. said hello to him. Well, there's a suit.
And all these men were, it was just this perfect scenario. Well, he drank a bunch of beer and he didn't have that happen to him, at least maybe not in real time. He actually sued him for 10 grand. Of course, he lost the lawsuit. Thank God.
Well, back in the day, they had another way of dealing with imbibers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They used to
Wait
have...
a minute. Is that another word?
It is.
Imbibers. This is 2 for Tuesday? No, it can't be. It's Thursday. 2 for Thursday. Okay. I like it.
Okay. Well, but they used to have another way of dealing with imbibers back in the day. You could go into probate court and file a petition and call someone an alleged drunkard. No political correctness here.
Okay.
And then the probate judge repealed it.
You can testify, but you just can't win, because I'm here to tell you guilty as sin. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge.
It can make an adjudication of finding a drunkard and then have the person committed. Now, that happened here in Avon Lake, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I know we had our share of drunkards, but pick one.
Edson Dunning.
Edson Dunning.
Edson Dunning.
Stunning Ed Dunning. I remember him well.
No, you don't.
I know.
No, because this was back in the early 1900s. But anyway, so Edson's brother sadly had to have his brother Edson declared a drunkard. And then Edson had to manage his affairs for him, his financial and other. And Edson had to spend a little time in the old St. Joe's Hospital in a special ward for those who had been adjudicated drunkard.
So you could just have somebody, you're drunk, you're going to Ward 7 at St. Joe's, right?
That's right.
Different time. Maybe I don't want to go back there.
Maybe you don't.
Maybe I don't want to go back there. Pardon me. So I forgot where I was at here. Oh, as I'm listening to you tell the stories, I can imagine these people are nuts. These people are totally crazy. And some of this, we don't have to go back to the 1900s. I mean, you can look at some of the litigation that goes on in 2020. There are still people crazy looking for handouts, looking for, and some of this is just an insanity. Oh, okay.
Well, you know what? In the early 1900s, there was a way of dealing with those kind of crazies too. And Avon Lake had one in particular. Ever hear of Charles Bilton?
I think I have. No.
Okay. Well, Charles Bilton apparently was drawing a little bit too much attention to himself. And apparently it was undesirable attention. And so a few of the citizens took advantage of a then existing Ohio law that allowed them to go into probate court, swear out an affidavit against Charles Bilton, claiming he was crazy, and then have him brought in for hearing in front of the probate judge to make a determination.
So you can just say, I think that my neighbor's crazy, and then they would go and haul him in?
Well, back in the 1900s, you could have done that. Not now. Back in the day.
My family might have escaped some of that.
Well, that's, it's funny because that's exactly what Charles Bilton tried to do.
What?
Yes, because under cover of darkness, he went and loaded his wagon full of all of his household goods and furnishings and tried to get out of town before the sheriff could come and arrest him. But guess what? The sheriff was waiting for him. Caught him.
How did the sheriff know? You think somebody dropped a dime?
Well, somebody filed an affidavit calling him crazy. You think they'd hesitate to drop a dime on him?
I guess, I bet you it was family.
You think?
I bet you it was family.
I do have to tell you that one of the persons signing that affidavit as a witness was his mother-in-law. Must have been a thing with mother-in-laws back then.
Oh, I know why there's always that division between the mother-in-law. Maybe we planted those seeds back then in 1900s, you know, and I don't know. I got along great with my mother-in-law.
So Charles Belton, you know, he had his hearing in front of the probate judge, and guess what? The judge found him not to be insane and let him go.
Wait a minute. So he's walking around, maybe even today, if he's not, you know, he's probably dead by now, but
he's buried in the Avon Lake Cemetery. Yeah, so let's hope he's not walking around now, okay?
Well, but you never know. Spirits being what they are.
Ew.
You know.
Wait, don't you imbibe spirits?
Yes, you do.
Okay. But you know, there was one lawsuit in Avon Lake that just has me stumped.
Okay.
Flummoxed.
Great word. Could be another. This could be 3 for Thursday.
3 for Thursday.
Yeah.
And it was an injunction lawsuit to stop the operation of, are you ready for this? A correctional institution and school for feeble-minded children in Avon Lake in 1939.
There was a school for feeble-minded children in 1939. There was an institution here in town?
In town. I don't know where, and I don't know who authorized it. Maybe it was just some resourceful resident who decided Avon Lake needed one of those.
I'm pretty convinced had it been there in the 50s, I know where I would have spent the first 10 years of my life. You know, my mom and dad would have become giving me, you know, brownies through the door.
So basically then what you're telling me is this lawsuit to shut the place down must have been successful because it wasn't there in the 50s when you would have been in there.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it had begun because I'd have been in that baby.
Well, hey, I hope you're feeling better now about, you know, litigation today. It's really no different than it was back in the day.
Yeah, it really is. Our lives have evolved. Our world has evolved, and looking back at some of the stuff that took place in those days, I always find it's fascinating. And I said this to some friends not too long ago. People complain that everything goes on Facebook. Back in the 1900s, everything went in the newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that was the Facebook, and people are offended because it tells you, well, there's announcements that Tony and Sherry had friends over in their backyard last week. You know, I mean, those are the kinds of things that appeared. So you can read some very interesting things in old archival newspapers. So Sherry, I always enjoy having you share your stories with us. I do enjoy these things, and I'm hoping that everybody is staying safe and try to think twice before you legally move to the next level, because your mother-in-laws may not want you to do that. You know, it's just the way it is.
And Tony, I think we're up to 5 or 6 viewers by now.
Oh,
because my parents told me they binge watched 1 through 12 of these episodes.
We're like Game of Thrones, right? We're binge watching. Yeah.
Well, you know, people can do that if they want to. They can binge watch us.
Yes. It's our own YouTube channel. You can look for Avon Lake Historical Society or Heritage Avon Lake. We go by both names. You can Google Sherry's name. It'll show up. My name. It'll show up. Subscribe if you'd like. There's no benefit to you doing that other than it's easier for you to find out when we're doing the next one. But I want to thank everybody, you know, all 5 of you, for attending today's session. And we will see you again soon on A Moment of History or Two. Thanks, Sherry. We'll see you later.
Bye.